We all know how important a great teacher is. But what if the real reason we struggle to create them isn't found in the classroom at all? What if it's hidden deep inside the university system? Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at the power struggles that really define how our teachers are made.
So, let's start with the question I think we've all asked at some point. Everyone agrees that great teachers are absolutely essential. So why is it, so consistently, so incredibly hard to get it right? Despite all the money and the effort, it's this persistent challenge for pretty much every school system out there.
Well, it turns out the answer might not be where we usually look. We tend to focus on the K-12 classroom, but to really get to the bottom of it, we have to go back a step. We have to look at the universities and colleges where teachers get their training in the first place. The real story, the key, is hidden in that system.
And that brings us right here, behind the curtain, to the world of academic governance. Now, I know that sounds a little dry, doesn't it? But stick with me because I promise you this is where the action is. This is where the power struggles happen and where the fundamental decisions get made. It's like the operating system for teacher education.
So what do we even mean by academic governance? Well, think of it like this. It's the whole set of rules, the established practices, and the power structures that decide who gets to call the shots. Who gets to design the courses, who sets the standards a student has to meet to graduate, and maybe most importantly, who gets to define what a good teacher even looks like. That's all academic governance.
To understand this, you have to know who the players are, and you can basically split them into two camps. On one side, you've got the internal voices, the university faculty, the deans, and on the other side, you've got these really powerful external forces, like state legislatures and accrediting agencies. The thing is, each group has a totally different set of goals and priorities, and that's exactly where the conflict starts.
And that conflict, it really is a constant tug of war for control. This isn't just some friendly debate over coffee. It's a fundamental clash of philosophies over the right way to build a teacher from the ground up.
This really breaks down the two sides of that rope. On one side, you've got academic expertise. They value deep research, nuance, and the freedom for professors to teach complex skills. Their goal is to create teachers who are critical thinkers. But on the other side, you have external accountability. They value standardization, making sure everyone's compliant, and things they can easily measure, like test scores. Their goal is to make sure every teacher meets a clear public standard. Both sides think they're doing the right thing, but their values are just worlds apart.
And this quote it gives a voice to that frustration, doesn't it? You can really hear that feeling from inside the university, the sense that this incredibly complex job of preparing a teacher is just being flattened, reduced to a simple checklist by outsiders who don't get it. That feeling is right at the heart of this whole conflict.
So this isn't just some abstract debate happening in an ivory tower. These fights over governance have very real consequences. Let's trace how a high-level power struggle can actually trickle all the way down and completely change the kind of teacher who shows up in your local classroom. Okay, here's a perfect example of the chain reaction. Let's say a governance decision shifts power away from the faculty and gives it to an external agency. Well, step 2, suddenly the curriculum has to change to focus on what that agency measures, and often that means standardized test scores. So step 3, the new teachers coming through the program are now trained with a heavy focus on test prep. And the final domino to fall, those new teachers walk into classrooms with a toolkit that is, by design, less creative and way less flexible.
And that's the whole point, right there. Just one single decision about who holds the power can kick off a chain reaction that completely alters the education of thousands and thousands of kids. The stakes here are just incredibly high.
So, after looking at the players and tracing the consequences, what's the verdict? What's the big takeaway from all of this?
It's this. Governance is not just boring bureaucracy. It's not just administrative paperwork. It is the literal blueprint for how we build the teacher. The decisions made in these committees and state houses, they define what skills we value, what knowledge gets passed on, and ultimately, what kind of educator our kids get.
So if you're going to remember 3 things, make it these. First, at its core, this is a power struggle between academic freedom and public accountability. Second, that struggle isn't abstract. It has direct, real-world consequences for the classroom. And finally, you have to think of governance as the invisible foundation. If that foundation isn't strong and balanced, the whole project of creating great teachers is always going to be on shaky ground.
And all of this leaves us with one last, really tough question to chew on. Who should have the final say? Should it be the academic experts who spend their lives studying this stuff? Or should it be the public bodies who are accountable to taxpayers and parents?
There is no easy answer here. But just understanding the question, well, that's the first and most important step.